Hello everyone, welcome to Big Data Thoughts. Today's topic of discussion is lake house. So what are lake houses? This is a term that we are hearing quite a bit. We have been hearing about data lakes and I did a video on data lake, but I wanted to speak specifically on lake house as well because there are many people who are actually moving towards or wanting to use something like a lake house. So we would discuss what is a lake house, what is the progression, how did lake houses come into picture from RDBMS to data warehouses to data lake and lake house, why? Then the benefits, what are the features or characteristics of a lake house and what kind of use cases would I actually want to use a lake house versus a data lake versus a data warehouse. So we will discuss all of these concepts in today's video. So let's get started. First of all, let's try to understand what a lake house is. We have heard about what a data lake is. It is nothing but a centralized repository of data which is coming in from different sources. Now, data lake, we have spoken about this in a video separately and I'll put the link here. Data lakes addresses a certain kind of situation. For example, wherever we want to have data in one place and when we want to realize different use cases. But then data lakes do have their own set of limitations. Similarly, before data lakes, we had data warehouses which were very good, robust in terms of storing structured data using SQL and all of that, but they had their share of limitations. So lake house is something which is a combination of a data lake as well as a data warehouse and which gives us benefits of both the worlds. For example, if we talk about data lake, the disadvantage of having a data lake can be it doesn't support transaction support. It doesn't give you transaction support. It doesn't give support for ACID properties. So those are the things which may be really required in certain situations. So those are limitations of a data lake. Similarly, in a data warehouse, there are limitations that you will not be able to scale indefinitely as per the demand, because in today's world we are talking about terabytes and petabytes of data, so scaling is one of the very major factors, and vertical scaling has its own limitation. You cannot scale a system indefinitely in a vertical manner. So that's the reason we spoke about distributed systems, we spoke about scaling horizontally. That's why data warehouses could not actually scale that well horizontally, and they could not support efficient storage and processing of unstructured, multi-structured data. These were the limitations of data warehouses. So if we want to eliminate these limitations of both data lakes and data warehouses, then lake house is the answer to that. So it's nothing but a combination of data lake plus warehouse known as lake house, and it is combining a best of both the worlds. Now this is a picture which Databricks had published some time ago, and it talks about how we evolved from data warehouses to lake house. So if we see in the late 1980s, we had the concept of data warehouses, and they were primarily used for BIN reports. So data warehouses, what it does is we used to bring data from external sources, from internal sources, build an entire ETL pipeline to extract the data, transform and load it into a data warehouse. We typically would have Snowflake schema or star schema. We would create data marts, specific data marts, and then connect our BIN reporting tools. So it was meant for OLAP kind of purposes. That was the era of 80s. And people were happy with it because it solved all the purposes. But with the advent of internet, with the advent of too much of data warehouses could not operate in the way that we wanted them to. So a new concept somewhere around 2011 was introduced, which was called as data lake. Now data lake was better than data warehouses in certain senses, like they could store any kind of data, structured, unstructured, semi-structured. They could do an ETL on that and then have different use cases realized on that data. This worked very well, and today also it is working very well for the kind of use cases where you are not interested in doing ACID transactions, or you are not interested in doing certain things like doing batch and streaming together in a seamless way. There are multiple reasons where data or causes where data lake doesn't do that well. So then comes the concept. In 2020 a new concept was introduced called lake house, which was supposed to be a combination of all the good features of data warehouse as well as data lake. Now let us actually look at what are those benefits that a lake house provides. So things like transaction support, schema enforcement. If you have a schema that is going to change or evolve, or you want to put a tab on your schema to see how it is changing or what exactly do you want to ingest, you want to do single point of governance. Then BI support, storage decoupling from the compute, openness, support for diverse data types, diverse workloads, and end-to-end streaming. These are some of the benefits that a lake house gives us, and you would notice that all of these benefits that you see here are somewhat coming from data warehouses and data lakes. It's a combination of both. Let us go a bit deep into each of these benefits to understand what we mean by a transaction support or by BI support. So first of all, transaction support. What is a transaction support? In data warehouses or RDBMSs, we had very strong consistency, isolation, durability, atomicity, all the ACID properties, and we had transaction support, which was lacking in data lakes. But Lakehouse provides those ACID transactions, and it will ensure consistency as multiple people are reading and writing data. Because in a real world, if we build a data lake, there are going to be n number of pipelines, ETL pipelines feeding into the data lake. It will not be just one pipeline or one person or just a small group of people. It will be multiple people with different personas, multiple ETL pipelines running at different times. So definitely there is a need for ACID transactions to be there to ensure that whatever data we are writing is consistent. So this is one of the topmost important feature that a lakehouse provides. Then schema enforcement and governance, which means that we have spoken in terms of data warehouses about schemas like star schema, snowflake schema. Okay, there are different kinds that we can create. So a lake house would typically support these kind of schema architectures. It will provide a very robust governance and auditing mechanism. Ideally, when we talk about big data, when we were talking about data lakes, we typically avoid making star or snowflake schema. The reason being the joins etc. are expensive because the system is distributed. In an RDBMS or typically a data warehouse, it is a very common type of schema that is there, either a star or a snowflake, and it's quite efficient. That's how you build your data marts. But when data lakes came in and we were talking about horizontally distributed architectures and data lakes, it was said that denormalize the data. Do not have normalized data models or star or snowflake data models. Instead, because the storage is cheap and we are distributing data, we should have denormalized data. Keep everything that is needed together so that you can avoid joins. Joins would be extremely expensive when we talk about a distributed system because data is spread across. But with a lake house, you have the freedom to build star and snowflake kind of schemas. If you want to replicate an existing data warehousing data into your data lake, you want to do migration from certain old systems and you want your reports to operate on star and snowflake, that is possible in a lake house. And obviously it provides the benefit of governance and auditing because data is centralized at one place. Then BI support. BI support means there are multiple BI tools out there in the market which are used today for business intelligence. There are different kind of reporting tools that are used. In Lakehouse, we are able to connect the BI tool directly to the source data. So automatically the latency is reduced. Cost is less because you don't have to have two replicas, one like a replica of data which is transformed and then you aggregate and put another copy somewhere for the BI tools to access. You don't have to do that. it can be the BI tools can directly connect to the lakehouse. Now this feature is very similar to what we talk about in data lake, because remember what I said, lakehouse is nothing but a amalgamation of good features from both warehouse as well as data lake. Then storage is decoupled from compute. This is a very important thing, because earlier systems, when we had on-prem systems, when we had our traditional systems, our storage and compute was tightly coupled. Data warehouses, for example, Teradata, Netezza, the appliance, if we talk about the appliances, they come with hardware and software bundled together, and these are machines, very powerful machines, which are the storage and compute is tightly coupled. But that poses a limitation. If I just want to increase the storage or the compute, I can't do that separately. But with the advent of data lakes, distributed architecture and cloud, today we are talking about essentially very loosely coupled or decoupled, in fact, storage and compute systems. If we take an example of any cloud, right, let's say AWS, S3 is an object-oriented store which is completely separate from the processing. If we use Glue or Athena or anything for that matter, the processing is completely separated from the storage. So we can have one single storage which scales independently, and we can have multiple processing technologies on top of that. So this increases the flexibility, it increases our capacity to scale, and we can have concurrent users accessing the data. Similarly, it also is cost effective, because we are talking about cloud and very competitive prices based on our usage. Then another property that a lakehouse has is openness. Openness means it supports all standardized open formats like Parquet, Avro, etc., which are very optimized, efficient as well as open formats. And they also provide APIs for a variety of tools and engines, whether it is Python R libraries or machine learning libraries. It has a lot of API support to integrate all of these technologies together and use open and standardized formats. Similarly, it supports another important property is it supports diverse data and workload. There is no restriction, just like in data lakes, there is no restriction in lakehouse in terms of what is the format of data or type of data, because ultimately it is going to be a schema on read, which means while writing the data I can store any kind, video, audio, even different file formats, different format of data like structured, unstructured, semi-structured. Anything and everything can be stored, and while reading we enforce a schema, or we try to tell what kind of data we want to read. Okay, so that means that it supports a variety of data, a diverse data, and it also supports a variety of workloads, because as I said, storage and compute is decoupled. So we can have one centralized storage, or if we want we can have separate storage based on use case. Some data can get into a graph database, some data can get into NoSQL, some can get into just a simple file system or an object oriented system. And we can have different kind of work of processing systems built on, put on top of these storages to process the data, so that you can support different kinds of workloads, whether it is a workload which is like an interactive querying, or it is a batch oriented processing, or it is a data scientist who is accessing the data. So it can have multiple such different workloads and different types of data. Then we have something called end-to-end streaming, which means that there is a support for streaming which eliminates any need for having a separate system to do batch and a separate system to do real time. We can have data at a centralized location coming in. We can have both our batch and streaming served from that data. Now this is important because we don't want to have multiple paths branching into multiple different data stores or technologies. The maintenance becomes heavy. So if you have an end-to-end streaming process enabled, which means you do not need a separate system. You have one system which is serving both real time and batch. So this really helps in our real world scenarios. So this is about the entire concept of a lake house, their progression and the benefits. I hope this clears out all the doubts about this term which everybody is using these days. And in further videos we are going to talk about other architecture patterns and terms that are being used in the industry. So please like, subscribe and share the videos, and so that you get alert for any interesting video that I post on the channel. Thank you so much.